Hello and welcome back to Tyres by Adam Thorpe. This is a video going to look at language techniques and then we'll follow on from there. So some language techniques used in this story. Well, tone plays a key role in Tyres. The tone begins with the narrator's mild irritation or annoyance with a tedious, annoying customer. And there follows a mundane account of his life, apart from the romance with Cecile. Um, and then we have a change of tone when the resistance story comes in, when Adam Thorpe describes what happened to the resistance people and what he describes their murder and the hanging from the bridge. However, the biggest change in tone is Cecile's death, when the narrator loses his will to live towards the end of the story. An important point to understand is that the narrator Raoul exists, but he doesn't live. That means that he is getting up for work every day. He goes to work, he comes home, he goes to sleep, he gets up, he goes to work again, he comes home, he goes to sleep. So he's living his life, but he is just existing. And this is because of Cecile's death and how guilty he feels. And he carries that guilt with him throughout his life, which is why he never marries or has a family. Metaphors that we can see in Tyres. The sun metaphorically compares things to his work with Tyres. For example, as if someone had taken a pump to my mouth and overdone the pedal. He also personifies the tyres. There was the inner tube and the outer casing of hard rubber. I always saw these as the body and the soul. So he's making the tyres into human beings. And this shows his genuine care about his work and that it is all he knows. His work in the tyre garage is all he knows. You know, he's a teenage boy. He lives in rural France and lives with his father and hasn't had a particularly exciting life up until he meets Cecile. For me, this is one of the saddest lines in the whole story. For me, though, it was the beginning of winter, not the end. This is talking about when Cecile dies, and he uses winter as a metaphor for his feelings of sadness and loneliness after she dies. His love and his joie de vivre, his reason to live and to exist, dies with Cecile. Very, very sad. And this metaphor is also used to create imagery to show that his world is now cold, sad, and winter-like without Cecile. And these techniques are used to create sympathy for the character and to try to help us connect with him further. The title of the story, Tyres, well, obviously tyres are a central idea in the story. It is what he works with. It's his livelihood. But not only that, he also tends to compare his life and the essence of people's souls to tyres. The same quote that we looked at in the previous slide, or the slide before that. And I learned to see a tyre as sad when its chin lay flat on the ground, melting away. And when it was fat and full, it bounced. It was so happy. But finally, and most importantly, while tyres are one of the most important aspects of his life because it is his livelihood, they also kill the other most important aspect of his life, Cecile. So when he messes with the German officer's tyre, That is what kills the love of his life. So Tyres have actually turned on him in a way. Some quotes to add to your quote bank to possibly try to use in your exam. Definitely try to remember this one. For me though, it was the beginning of winter, not the end. And then talking about the German officer, one in particular was a large, friendly man, and probably the very chap, as an officer of the Gestapo, keeping an eye on things out here, who had ordered the execution of Pitior. Look at the change of tone in the word choice in this sentence. It starts with some positive words like large and friendly man, chap, he's keeping an eye on things, and then it changes to ordered the execution. Maybe my father did more than just give the Machiad God's credit, as he used to call it, but if so, I never knew about it, and trust between father and son would mean nothing in that case. One of the themes in this story is father-son relationships. So this might be a good quote to show that, talking about the trust between the father and the son. Oh, let's get on to the inevitable horror. This is when he's about to tell the reader the story about Cecile's death, and it's an inevitable horror. Horror is a strong word choice to describe what happened to Cecile, and it's inevitable. It's bound to happen because it already has happened in real life. Their guts were literally looped and dripping almost to the floor, ripped open by that brief outburst of gunfire. Very vivid imagery used in this sentence. Their guts were literally looped. And this is alliteration which gives you the literally looped kind of sounds onomatopoeic. It's going round like, it sounds like it's going round like this, just like their guts were. And dripping, the word dripping gives you the impression of the blood dripping onto the floor, and it's very visual imagery. And it's ripped, their guts have been ripped open. This is violent imagery. They have been ripped apart. The resistance people have been ripped apart by only a short outburst of gunfire. Very short, but very violent. As I ran, an ominous sense of doom came over me, a kind of terrible chill that made my heart slow, though it was pumping hard to keep my speed up. Ominous sense of doom. Terrible chill. Strong words there. I leave fresh flowers every year. This is at the end of the story when he's moved into the present tense, and he leaves fresh flowers at the site where Cecile died every year. And this shows his continued loyalty to her, even years and years later. When they begin to fade and wither, I replace them with the plastic type. To be honest, no one knows the difference, shooting past as they do these days. This shows possibly how the narrator in his older years is struggling to adapt to the modern world, maybe because he's still living in his head in the past with Cecile. Life would go by us and now and again stop. This is when he's talking at the beginning of the story and describing his world with his dad. You know, living in rural France, in a quiet village, and doesn't really meet many people, leads a pretty quiet existence. And he's proud of his business. He's proud of the business, the Tyres business that him and his dad have. This is the Blessed Trinity, my father called it. The check, the double check, and the Holy Ghost check. This is talking about when they both check the tires on their customers' cars, and they do it 3 times. They check it again, and then they check it for a 3rd time. And this is religious imagery here. The road passed by us in a blur. These boys, they are free, you are not. We are all battered, she said. Some good quotes for you there to add to your quote bank. Her existence might suddenly be perilous, dangerous. Nothing can be relied on except death, and so forth. This links to Whitehouse in cricket, when he realizes that everybody in life is going to die. And this is a similar idea, that the only thing that we can rely on in life is that we're all going to die. When the bolts were turning tighter on our world. This is connotation to tires, the bolts on tires, but he's using it here to talk about living in German-occupied France and the fact that life was getting harder for them. They were living in the middle of the Second World War, and it was getting more, their life was getting more and more dangerous, perilous, and unsure. I lost more completely than most men lose. This is talking about when Cecile died, and he lost everything. He lost his will to live. There is nothing worse than facing danger with your spine. Some visual imagery there. To be honest, no one knows the difference between the real and the plastic flowers, shooting past as they do these days. Some themes in Tyres. We have guilt, the determination, pride for your work and its potential to consume lives, love and human relationships and the danger of love, rebellion against oppression, which you could call resistance, and the price paid for freedom, and death and its aftermath. So, the determination or pride for your work and its potential to consume lives. This is talking about his work in the Tyres garage, and that it consumed his life. It's what he lived for. One must never fall short of the highest standards. If you fall short, cut in corners and grow sloppy, and give a man an inner tube that you believe yourself is passable, you might send that man to his death. That shows how important, how serious he takes his job. Both the father and son believe that their job is of utmost importance and take it very, very seriously. However, the son does sometimes slack off. If I let my attention wander or felt too lazy to triple check pressure. So that's showing that he's, a normal teenager, and sometimes he is too lazy to properly check the tires, but that is actually very dangerous.